Yo, thank you guys for tuning into this video. We greatly appreciate you guys being here. In this video, we're going to be covering the new article over on newworld.com called Introducing Our In-Game Store. Now, we posted our thoughts about the cash shop in New World on our last episode of New World to Go, so you can go check that out if you're interested in a very long conversation about it. In this video, we're just going to kind of hit the high points in this article. We're going to read through it and discuss some of our thoughts about this article specifically. So let's jump right in here, man. So it says, greeting adventurers, we are releasing our in-game store today for alpha players to test content and provide feedback in preparation for our August 31st launch. The store will allow in-game purchases for cosmetic items outside of our deluxe edition and pre-order bonuses. We have received a lot of feedback already and believe it's important to make the store visible now for players to experience and test directly. It says items in the store during alpha will be purely cosmetic and provide no gameplay advantages. So I want to pause right there for just a second and hone in on this sentence, because a lot of people are getting hung up on this. So if you remember, right before I read this sentence, we just went through an entire paragraph about the alpha, all right? About what they're adding the store into the alpha, and it's all about the alpha. This then goes on to say items in the store during alpha will be purely cosmetic and provide no gameplay advantages. A lot of people are getting hung up on that. Items in the store during alpha, and they think they're reading into that a little bit much, and they think that they're going to be adding items after alpha, which is a little bit crazy. So I just wanted to hone in on that for a second. And Red, I want to get your thoughts on that sentence in particular and why you think people may be honing in on that and what you have to say about it.
Well, I think they're trying to get at New World's trying to sneak one by on us. And again, it's important to consider context when you're reading literature, especially stuff that's, put out in this manner to try to clear things up. Try to make sure that the community and the people that support the game understand that their intention is to not put, anything other than cosmetic items at launch. And they mentioned until 2022, so that they wouldn't consider any of those things until after that point. And then we would have an open discussion about, at that point, what they would add. So, again, reading into a word or a phrase without considering the context of the statement or paragraph or even article is ridiculous. It's something that, you can use to create content off of and be clickbaity. But when we're getting down to brass tacks, it's very clear what they're trying to get at in this article, which is that they will not have anything except for cosmetic items in the game at launch until 2022, they mentioned, the exact year in which it would happen.
Yeah, and I think context, you're hitting the nail on the head right there, because a lot of people are just pulling this sentence out in particular and saying items in the store during alpha will be purely cosmetic. Well, that's kind of nonsense to just pull that out, because they're not taking that in context with the rest of the article or the paragraph that was right above that I just read. That entire thing is talking about the alpha, not talking about what's going to be in there post-launch or anything else. They're just saying that they're adding this in the game in alpha for testing purposes. And then they go on to say what is going to be in there to test. And that's it. There's no reading into that. And it's kind of silly that people are. So I just wanted to take a second to kind of clear that up and basically to give you guys a public service announcement that says just make sure you go read these things for yourself and not just listen to what somebody else is saying if you're very interested in this topic. So let's move on.
In general, that's like a good rule for life.
Yeah. Yes,
don't just take other people's word for things.
Yes. Don't take other people's word for things. If you're interested in something, go look it up yourself. You can research it, but make sure you know for yourself.
Well, and I would say if you're not interested in it, then don't act like you know what you're talking about too. That's a great rule too. That a lot of people on the internet follow for sure.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So then it says, as the game evolves, we may add new categories of store items based on our players' desires. We may make mistakes, which is why we're testing and engaging with our community to solicit feedback. The alpha store test will include an example skin, emote, and dies. These are not the exact items we'll sell when live, but this is just to give you an idea of the type and flavor. So then again, they're talking about what's going to be in the alpha store to test for people. That's not what's going to be in the game at launch. That's just what they're saying they're going to test. And those are some examples of the types of items that are going to be in there at launch, which I think is fine. So then it says, we think it's important to share the goals behind our in-game store design so players can understand our intent to establish a foundation for open dialogue on this topic. Then our plan plan for having an in-game store is to create an outlet for players who find enough value in store items that are happy to purchase them. Our plan is not and never will be to create a feeling that store items are necessary to enjoy or compete in the game. We have three main goals for the in-game store. Empower expressive personalization is their first goal. So they want the cosmetic items sold in New World are built to provide additional opportunities for players to shape their characters. Releases will showcase new dyes, apparel, and weapon skins for players to customize their character, as well as themed decorative furnishings and additional house pets players can purchase. Cosmetic items will not provide any perks or boosts to stats. So what do you think about that first paragraph right there about the Empower expressive personalization goal that they're adding into the store? Do you think it's fine to have themed decorative furnishings, apparel, weapon skins for players to customize their character? Do you think it's okay to have that stuff in game and in a cash shop?
I mean, yeah, like what else do we want them to do cosmetically? Like the things that they're listing make sense for cosmetic purchases if that's what they're going to have in the game. Obviously, we know the intention of this is to keep content rolling, to fund further content. They're going to be releasing things post-launch that are going to be free updates with more content. I'm sure down the line they may do an expansion or something like that, and maybe they'll charge money for that. But overall, their way to fund the constant updating of content is through the cash shop. So the cosmetic items are fine for me. Again, as long as you can obtain these items or similar looking items in game through in-game means, then I think it's fine. Like, again, no problem there. It's 2021. Let's just all face the music. If they're going to do something cosmetic, it's probably these sort of things: housing items, costumes, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't see anything really wrong with that either. And I would like to say here as a side note, and their monetization strategy is to sell the game. They're selling the game at $40, which I think is very, very cheap for a AAA MMO. That's what this is. For $40, man, that's the box price. And then their way to continue to monetize is to have a cash shop. That's just their chosen method. Now, it may not be the method that everyone agrees with, but it is their method. And they have to... They have to sell something else other than just the base game to continue the ongoing development of the game. That's just facts, man. Well, they have a 200+ team, man.
Here's the thing. Sorry to cut you off. I'm just a lot of people recommend like having a sub for the game. You know what I mean? As a way to like just have the sticker price and the sub. Well, the thing is like having a cash shop is basically allowing people who want to support the game on a monthly basis, you get something for it. You get some sort of cosmetic or something if you want to pay $10 or $15 for a cosmetic. If you don't want to, then you don't have to. And then technically the people, like, you're not subbing, you're not paying the $15 a month, but other people are. And I don't understand like the complaint between the two systems, a purely cosmetic cash shop and then a sub, because essentially you're paying money on a regular basis to the game. One of them is forced. You have to pay the $15 a month. Or the other one is not. Like, it's optional. It allows people to support the game in that way and get some sort of reward for it, other than just like the ability to play the game that you paid for $40, which I find to be sometimes not such a great thing, because like I've already paid for the game. Why do I have to continue to pay $15 if you're not going to put out content on a regular basis? So there's a lot of negatives to both things and positives to both sides, I think. So I mean, I just find it interesting. A lot of people would rather have a subscription, but in the end, like, it's very similar as far as like monetization goes.
Yeah, it is. I am probably more in the camp of just wanting a sub, but only if they're going to continue to update the game. I like the sub model and I have to earn everything in game, but that just comes from my old school roots. But at the same time, I understand that this day and age, man, development costs are not cheap. You have a 200+ team. You have to have a way to monetize the game moving forward. If you are a fan of the game and in the MMO genre, period, and you want MMOs to succeed, you cannot survive off of just the box price alone. You have to have another way to monetize the game. It's just facts, man. You have to, as much as we may not like it. And I think there are ways to have a cash shop in the game without it being predatory, without it being pay to win. I think there are tactful ways to have this cash shop in the game. And that's what we should be focused on as the players. We shouldn't be hung up that there's a cash shop in the game, and just because there's a cash shop, we immediately think it's pay to win. We should be hung up on the fact of what they're going to add to the cash shop. And I think this article does a very good job of clearing that up. So let's continue this thing, man. It says, while while in the game, the store will provide additional opportunities for customization and feature unique cosmetic items. There's a wealth of visually diverse in-game loot for players to discover and earn across Aeternum. That's a very good thing. At the same level of aesthetic quality with items found in the store. So that's a very key point right there. So they're talking about the items that you earn in the game are at the same level of aesthetic quality with items found in the store. And then they show a picture down here that shows in-game, 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 and then an in-store item. And they all look very similar. A little bit different style on the in-store item. It's like a Viking helmet. I don't know if you're showing this on screen right now, Red, but it's like a Viking helmet. And then the other four look very, very cool. They look similar. And I think that's fine. So let me go ahead and continue this real quick, Red. I want to get your thoughts on that too. So then it says, our goal is not to make the cosmetics offered in-store better, but just different than the existing gear. We understand players work hard to get their gear and have no intention of diminishing the value of their favorite pieces. That's key too, I think. Often the store items are additive for role players and players who like to change their appearance frequently. Below are some examples of gear found in game versus purchasable in our store. And that's what I was just referencing. So what do you think about that overall statement right there, Red? Do you think they're spot on with that? Do you not like that? What is the problems that you can see, if any, with that paragraph there?
Well, and again, this goes back to the monetization strategy. If it is cosmetic, then you have to have items in game that you can earn that are equally as cool or as awesome to sport, and they seem to have that in spades. I just showed the picture. All of the item is very similar. 4 of those sets you can get in game, and the only one of them was the cash shop item. And honestly, if they didn't have the labels above the game, I think people would have a difficult time discerning which ones are cash shop items and which ones are in game. So that's important. That's something that you definitely have to make sure of when you're creating cosmetics like this, because games like Black Desert Online make you look like a peasant in the game unless you pay $20 to get a dope looking outfit. And that is definitely another negative way to institute a cosmetic cash shop, is making the cosmetics way cooler than anything else in the game, which is not the way that they're going to do it apparently. So it's fine.
Right. And they state that very specifically in that paragraph right there. So far, in my opinion, I haven't seen anything yet that jumps out to me and screams, this game is pay to win. The cash shop is terrible in New World. Why are they doing that? I haven't seen anything up to this point yet that screams that to me. Now, a lot of other people have kind of pointed out the first sentence we read, items in the store during alpha. That thing, we cleared that up because you got to read that in context. That's the key word. You have to read that in context with the rest of the thing. And then this other paragraph that talks about the items, the cosmetics they're going to have in the game, they're going to be the same level of aesthetic quality with items found in the store. I'm not sure what more you could want as a player from this type of monetization model, other than just not having this monetization model at all. And if that's your take, I can understand not agreeing with an in-game store, but what's in the store so far through this article hasn't been anything alarming to myself. So let's continue this thing. So it says, at launch, we'll offer themed cosmetic items across a variety of categories visually on par with our in-game gear, such as themed apparel and weapon skins. So they're going to have themed skins that can be applied to existing apparel or weapons to change their visual style. It's like a transmog system, I guess. Housing, decor, and house pets, decorative home furnishings, and fun pets for your home. Emotes, new ways for you to express yourself through dance, gestures, and other unique animations. Dye packs, while many vibrant pigments are available to harvest to create dyes, additional colors will be available in the store. Company crests, new design will be available in the store to personalize your company's insignia, and we won't consider selling anything other than cosmetics until 2022 at the earliest. So everything in there, we'll talk about that last sentence in just a second, but what is your thoughts on everything in there so far that I just listed off?
I mean, it kind of goes back to I'm fine. These are like, if you're going to do a cosmetic shop, which it seems to be their monetization strategy, then these are the things we expected to be in there. So no surprises, emotes, dyes, guild crests. I mean, again, it's fine if the cash shop model is the one that they're going for, which they are. Again, the sub model would also be fine, but to that point, a lot of games have both subs and cash shops. So again, it's hard to think what else would they put in this cosmetic cash shop if not for these items. So I think they're fine, Bordy. And you know, I think we're going to talk more about the endpoint as well of the 2022 thing. People may complain that's only 4 months away, and then, you know, what do they have planned for then? But again, it's up to us to continue to communicate with them and tell them what we do and don't want. If the player base is firm on something, they've shown the ability to call an audible and to make changes to the game. They've done that several times. More importantly, with the open world PvP and the toxicity that came with that, a lot of people gave them feedback and they made changes to the game to take it in a different direction. The cash shop, people gave them reasonable feedback and they've considered changing it, and it looks like they basically have changed it to where none of those items would be available at launch that everybody was concerned about. So again, if we keep communicating, I think we're going to, you know, get what we need or want out of New World. We just have to stay patient and reasonable, and again, speak out of context or speak in context, and not you know, continue to blow things up out. It's just an ineffective means of communication, and it's toxic, and it's something that you definitely do not want to do if you're interested or hopeful for the future of New World, which we are. You know, and it's important for us to behave in a manner that isn't, you know, detrimental to the game.
Yeah, so let's hone in on that last sentence right here real quick then. So it says, we won't consider selling anything other than cosmetic items until 2022 at the earliest. So I will admit, whenever you read that sentence by itself without reading the rest of the article, sure, that sounds a little bit concerning. But some of the things they don't show you in that sentence, they don't tell you what other items other than cosmetics are going to be in the store. And I think things like a name change, for example, that could be one of the things you're talking about. I don't know if it is, but I don't think they mentioned that here. And we'll go over what they mentioned here in just a second. But like a name change or server change or things of that nature that you're going to pay for, or that you could pay for, that don't really hurt anything. Those are other than cosmetic. We don't know what those are yet. And then it says until 2022 at the earliest. It doesn't say on January 1st, 2022, they're going to start dropping stuff into the store. It doesn't say that. So let's continue to read on and let's see what they mean by 2022 at the earliest. So it says maintain a level playing field. So it says the in-game store content will not give players an advantage in PvE or PvP gameplay. Our goal is not to provide anything that players find to be pay to win for the in-game store offers. No items in the store will give players instant lifts to their overall gear score and experience points or impact territory control. So this is key right here. No items in the store will give players instant lifts to their overall gear score. That would be awful if that were in the game. Experience points. So experience boosts and an instant lift to XP are two different things. You're talking about going from level 1 to level 70 by buying your way there without playing at all. That's a lift. What they're talking about adding into the game are boosts. Rested XP boosts.
I mean, the other games use boosts for the term that immediately puts you up to level, but they specifically mentioned rested XP, which means you'd still have to level. It'd just be quicker to level. And again, if you're releasing new content that increases the level cap, then it's okay to help players get to that, you know, speed up. And a lot of games like just go ahead and like in the game, and I see the argument of a lot of people, they go ahead and speed up the leveling process from like 1 to 60 in game without having to purchase an item, which, you know, that's a valid concern and a point that we just need to continue to communicate. If that's the means that we want them to do it, if we want them just to go ahead and you know, introduce a system that's faster to level, or like Sir Medieval mentioned in his video, if we want to do like you know, double XP weekends or triple XP weekends leading up to a new expansion to help new players get up to par with the rest of us, then that's a great method too, and that's free. So I can understand the argument there with the boosted XP or the rested XP. But again, like that method, the rested XP method, is one that is minimal compared to like what you're saying, which is like an actual boost to 60, like from no game experience at all.
Yeah, and I just wanted to clarify that here, because that is not what they are doing. They are not saying you can buy your way from level 1 to 60 immediately, because that would be awful on release. Obviously,
well,
like, that would be
not gonna happen.
That would be
ridiculous.
Right, that would be terrible. Even having just experience boosts that you can purchase is not a good play either. So they're not doing either of those though. All right, so let's continue. It says at launch. So then it says they're not doing lifts right now. That's not even in the conversation at all either. Maybe after the game's been out for 10 years or something. But now it says no item in the store is a gate to experience game mechanics. Okay. So no, let me read that again. No item in the store is a gate to experiencing game mechanics. Sorry, because I screwed that up. Players should never feel they have to spend additional money to experience New World once they purchase the game, as the price you pay at launch lets you play the entire release game. So that is, in my opinion, a very good thing. And that is one of the arguments to have a in-game cash shop versus a sub model, is that it says right here, once you pay the price at launch to buy the game, that lets you play the entire release game, and you don't ever have to spend another dime if you don't want to. You can continue to play the game for a $40 fee. It's completely optional to buy stuff out of the cash shop for yourself. So I think that is one positive about having a cash shop versus a sub model. I think that's one of the good things about having a cash shop. I would rather not have a cash shop at all, but it's in the game, and what they've said so far to me is not alarming at all. So far, I'm still on board. What do you think so far, Red?
Yeah, and again, these changes, I'm glad they're being transparent. That's the most important part. The changes that they're making, to the monetization strategy at launch is great. They're keeping all of the boosted XP and everything that we were concerned about. They're not going to be in the game. And then, in my mind, the conversation starts on what we want to see in the game in the entire 10-year span. If we never want to see something, we just need to be, communicate that effectively, not in a toxic manner, but one that produces changes. And the New World team, again, has been very upfront and I think very reasonable about the changes that they're making in the game. And they want the game to last too. They want a successful community. They want a successful game. And we can build that together through good communication. But one of the things I don't recommend doing is, again, hot taking everything and taking everything out of context. It's impossible to communicate with people like that. And the devs probably see that the same way. Is like, what good is coming out of this conversation other than just hatred and toxicity? Like, we need to be better than that as a community. If you want to be part of the community, I would like to see people being, a lot more decent than some of the things I've seen for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And back to one of the very first statements they made in the second paragraph here, it says, we may make mistakes, which is why we're testing and engaging with our community to solicit feedback. So if they add something wrong to the game, we can and should voice our opinion about that and then move forward. And I think that they're going to listen to that. They've proved that they're going to time and time again. And I think they'll continue to, as long as we are reasonable and rational about how we're giving feedback. So let's keep reading this thing here. It says, embrace veterans and welcome new arrivals. That's their last goal that they have listed for the cash shop. So it says, while Aeternum will be full of veteran players, we anticipate new players landing on its shores for years to come, which is a great thing if you're into MMOs and you enjoyed New World during the preview, or you're excited for this game. We want it to grow. We want people to continue to come to the game. So well after launch, we will consider ideas for items that influence mechanics like rested XP, both through the store and earned in game. I think that's important too, that I don't think many people are talking about either. People see the mechanics like rested XP, but it says you can earn them in game as well. So I don't know why that's a hang up for people. And it says, well, after launch, they're going to consider ideas for items. They're not saying that those are for sure. They're considering ideas for items. So I don't know why that's a huge deal, but let me keep reading this. It says, this would allow late to the game players entering Aeternum to catch up at a pace most comfortable to them and fight alongside their friends in in-game content, while not creating a pay-to-win environment. The more players that are able to experience in-game content and participate in in-game modes, the healthier the game experience will be. The timing on when we release any sort of boost would depend on player sentiment, feedback, and how we see new players progressing through the game well after launch. If we decide to implement these types of items, they will also be obtainable through in-game methods. I think that's pretty important right there, man. And I don't think a lot of people are talking about that they're not only going to be in the cash shop as an optional method to buy, but you can also obtain them just by playing the game. So what do you think about that paragraph, Reb?
I think it's personally reasonable, or perfectly reasonable speech. It's, again, being read into a lot. Consideration is an important thing to do when you're making choices. And they're being honest with us by saying they're considering these items for the cash shop in the future. They're trying to be transparent. Obviously, they've been transparent to this point at a fault sometimes. So, you know, again, I think these are fine. They're being honest with us. And if we continue to communicate, I think we'll get it leveled out in the end. If we don't want it, we need to just be upfront about it. And that's, I think, all we need to say about it, because, you know, again, they are trying to be transparent. And if we keep being negative about them being transparent, eventually they're just going to stop being transparent. And we're just going to get blasted in the face with some of this stuff without a chance to communicate. So we just need to keep the lines open and move forward for sure.
Yeah. All right. So the last little paragraph here is looking ahead, what they're going to add in the future. Heading toward launch, we're excited to test the functionality of our store and receive feedback on the items sold within it from our alpha community. Data from the alpha test, as well as the feedback from the testers themselves, will be studied closely, and tuning will be done to the store and content as we prepare for launch. The launch of New World is just the start. We plan to consistently ship game updates with new content drops for years to come. That's encouraging if you're an MMO player and you want to see this genre succeed. I mean, this is a new MMO coming on the scene. I think as MMO players, we should all be rooting for this game and all the upcoming MMOs to succeed, to kind of revitalize this genre. So says we hope that you'll join us on the shores of Aeternum when the New World releases on August the 31st. Thanks again for all of your help and support, Scott. So man, overall, I think this article was pretty good, man. There are some things that people are pulling out of this article and nitpicking them, and I don't think there's a lot of merit behind the reasoning why, and it's kind of taken out of context. And I think that is the key word, is context. It's taken out of context, blown out of proportion. And I think whenever you read this in full context and you take a step back and you understand what they're trying to do, you understand their monetization model, and that they do have to have sustainable income for the long term to keep pumping out updates for years to come, like they want to do. They can't just sell it at the box price and then give everything else away for free. They would never make it. They would never be profitable. They would never make it as a game. And New World just wouldn't receive updates. Well, they have a 200+ team, man. They're trying to pay bills. So to me, I don't see anything glaringly wrong with what they have right now as their plan. In the future, if they add things that are sketchy, then sure, we should speak up and tell that that's not cool. But right now, I don't know what more we as players of an MMO would want in a cash shop monetization model. There's nothing in there that screams this is awful to me at this point in time.
Well, again, the game's not out yet, so you know, it literally none of us have played the final product. It's, you know, again, important for us to communicate with them continually. I agree with that 100%. But you know, we have an opportunity to, again, be positive and build this game with the devs into a manner that we're all happy to share our time with inside of Aeternum. And that's the idea behind all this. That's why we create content for this game, is because we're excited for the future of the game. We're excited to play the game with our community. And I think, you know, it's ridiculous to kill the game before it even comes out, or say the game's dead before it even comes out. And it's definitely not productive. So, you know, Bordy, I think we've covered it ad nauseum at this point. If our you know, if you guys have questions or anything like that, leave them in the comments below for sure. But you know, I think we're all on the same page here in the fact that this is a great step forward, and there's no reason to read into the finer you know, points without having context, and hopefully we can just move forward and continue to progress the game in a positive manner towards launch.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Well, thank you guys. That'll about do it for this video. We can't express our gratitude enough for you guys being here and subscribing to our channel and clicking the like button and just interacting with us on YouTube and joining our Discord. Our Discord has been blowing up recently. We appreciate you guys more than you know. Studio Loot has been growing overall on every front, and it's all because of you guys. And man, we appreciate you a whole lot. So thank you guys so very much. And a special thanks to our patrons, which you'll see at the end of this video. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.